Get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a viewer submitted replay. This is the Chinese Tier 9 heavy tank, the WZ-111 1-4, which is in no way awkward to say, so I don't think we'll be giving it its full name every time. Let's just stick with the WZ. You'll know what I'm talking about, right? It's the one we're looking at right now. And this has been sent in by Domstadtkerl, and I've probably mangled that, so we're just going to stick with the Dom as well. So this is, like I said, it's the Chinese Tier 9 heavy, and it's one of the more kind of native designs. You're really only, on the Chinese line, it's only with the heavies, it's Tier 8, where you finally start to get the designs that are not just Russian copies, basically. Because the IS-2 is just a straight up Russian tank. I think the medium tanks, it's really from kind of Tier 7. You get the native designs. And probably the same for the light tanks. So actually, let's say the light tanks is probably Tier 6 for the light tanks, because of course you've got the 5916. So it's got pretty decent frontal armour, it's got a pretty decent gun. In fact, stat-wise, the gun is probably not unlike the German 128. It's a little bit lackluster in terms of penetration, but it's got very decent alpha. And it's a 122mm gun, so it's got much better alpha than the Russian 122mm that you may be more familiar with. So he's gone to this early position. This is obviously Fisherman's Bay. And if we take a look at the minimap, well, look at the west side. Yeah, you can kind of guess how this is going to develop. But for now, Dom's just looking for targets of opportunity. He's looking to spot things, hurt things. And this is not a bad early position, this, but you want to not get bogged down here, basically. You want to utilise it for as long as it's useful, for as long as it gives you stuff to shoot at even without taking too much fire yourself. But the moment when you get too much enemy attention focused on this spot, well, that's the point where you want to back off. We see there's an IS-8 and a stock turreted ST-1 that have also come to this position, and that makes things a bit more awkward as well, because they're all trying to jockey for position. And this is where it gets kind of annoying, because you have to be a lot more cautious, precisely because you don't want to accidentally shoot your friendly teammates. As opposed to unfriendly teammates, I suppose? I don't know. So, as expected, yeah, the whole west flank, the enemy team realised that there was basically nobody there, so they've just rolled down, and the very few tanks that are on that side are going to get owned very rapidly. I don't even know if the Jagdpanther is even in the game. No, he isn't. The Jagdpanther never even loaded in the game. So it's literally an Indian Panzer and a 1390 in the middle, and there's a Comet a bit further along, upslope as it were. This is basically most of the team here, and Dom has just realised this, and he's just realised that either they're going to get capped or they're going to get surrounded. So he's going to reposition himself post haste. I mean, it's not too bad in terms of numbers as of yet, but it's one of those times when you look at the numbers of tanks on each team, and that doesn't actually give you the whole story. The mini-map is always more important than how many tanks you have left on each side, apart from maybe when you get right down to, you know, the last couple of tanks, and at that point, just, you know, one tank more than the enemy can make a huge difference. So the Indian Panzer died, the AFK Jagdpanther has died, and the Comet that is next to Dom is about to die as well. So he's kind of alone for now. There's a 1390 that's trying to basically spot things. We've lost our RT, and the enemy team still has theirs, but he's not the only one that is responding. There are a couple of people coming back. There are 3 that are going to the enemy cap, but the majority of the team are coming back, and that is going to be fairly crucial. There were at least enough people paying attention to the mini-map to actually to not make this just an automatic loss. Now, the T-20 that went south got blapped by their artillery, but their artillery is about to die, so that's useful. That's one less thing to worry about, especially when you're trying to work this position. Now, of course, this being a Chinese tank, in line with most of the higher tier Russians, doesn't have good gun depression at all. In fact, are there any Chinese tanks that have good gun depression? I don't know that there are, to be honest. It's just not a feature of Chinese tanks generally. So he's just looking to do damage, and not take any himself. I don't know how good the turret on this thing is. I think it's alright, but you can see that the commander's hatches, well, obviously you can't see right now, but when we zoom out, you'll be able to see the commander's hatches are really quite prominent. Now that was a very poorly placed shot. That was basically right into the gun mantle of the ISA, and I don't know if he just kind of slightly, I don't know, fired in panic or whatever, but that was never going to hurt. The 50-100 and the T-34-3 have decided to try and cap. That's probably not the best plan because the enemy team does have fast tanks left, and there's no way they're going to cap before stuff. You know, it's going to be close, but you'll see that they're just not going to be able to do it in time, and they're just being decapped, and they are in fact going to die. So that enemy IS-8 is pushing round, but that puts him more in the open for Dom. And Dom actually holds off firing because he thinks somebody else is going to get the kill. And instead the Panzer dies, and the IS-8 is still alive. So he realises, actually no, he does have to take this low health guy. That was a moment where he trusted his teammates would take out that guy, and they didn't. Now we are now down to 3 tanks versus 6 tanks. This is not a great situation. And oh, there's the enemy 5120. The Rheinmetall's there also. That's a big threat, but he's fairly hull down at the moment, and he's managed to damage that 5120. However, this is 3 versus 1, and he's got it's not the fastest reload, this. It's not the slowest reload, but it's always the case when you're in this situation, outnumbered by enemy tanks in a high tier heavy. Generally speaking, even if you've got a big punchy gun, well actually the bigger punchier gun you've got, the longer the reload you're generally going to have, so you can only do so much damage in a given space of time, and your enemies generally know this. So, although it would be nice not to have to, you know, I say almost waste fire on a light tank. The 1390 is still fairly dangerous, but he has to shoot this guy for way less than the full potential of a shell, rather than concentrate on taking out something else. Now, the friendly 5120 is down, but the ST1 is still alive. And the ST1 doesn't have a great score. Well, it doesn't have a great damage count, rather. He actually ends up having a reasonable score compared to the rest of the team, and that maybe tells you something about the rest of the team. Now, that's unfortunate. He's been ammo racked. Now, this next shell's going to be at the normal reload, but having used his repair kit already, yeah, he's got to take out this T-44. I don't know why he hesitates there. Maybe he's just holding off because he knows the Rheinmetall's going to appear. Maybe he wanted the ST1 to... Anyway, as it turns out, he gets lucky because the ST does take the T-44, and that means he's got a shell left for the Rheinmetall. So, it's 2 versus 2, but oh boy, he has no health left, and he's got a 24-second reload. So, yeah, that came awfully close to going horribly wrong, and you can see that he doesn't... He's not in good shape. He's telling the ST that he's got a damaged ammo rack. I really don't think the ST's a terribly good player, but crucially, you know, even a not terribly good player can still kill things, can still shoot enemy tanks, can still bounce shells. So the fact that you would rather have a not terribly good player versus a dead player, you know, a dead great player, I guess is... does that make any sense to anyone? No, probably not. But what I'm saying is it's fairly crucial that the ST is still alive, because it's now 2 versus 1, and they have just got a Tiger II left to deal with. Now they're both really low health, and you can see that the ST is also a one-shot. And this reload is just painful, it really is. I don't know if it's like the British tanks that this just takes ammo rack damage really often, but I actually watched another replay with the WZ before choosing this one, and in that battle also somebody took ammo rack damage not once but twice. So they repaired their ammo rack the first time, and then it got damaged again. So yeah, maybe that's just a thing with this tank. So he's trying to spot the Tiger II, but the guy's, you know, there's bushes in the way, and the guy's at basically the edge of his vision range. He's also switched to premium ammo because these shells have to count. This is the kind of the crunch situation that you save these shells for. The ST seems very hesitant to go forward. It's possible that, you know, that the ST doesn't even speak English. I'm going to guess Domstadt's German, based on the client stuff that's popping up in the messages when he's pinging the minimap. And although he obviously knows English as well, the ST, we have absolutely no idea what language that guy speaks. So yeah, sometimes communication with your fellow players can be a difficult thing if you're trying to indicate what you would like somebody to do, what would be the best course of action. You know, you might be able to try and do it with the in-game commands, but there's every chance that someone will just ignore those as well. Now, the WZ Dom, why don't we just call him that? Somebody suggests going to cap, and there is time to do it. To be honest, the ST is close enough to our cap that if the Tiger 2 tries to win by cap, that the ST can roll forward and hopefully decap or even destroy. But yeah, he then thinks better of it, and other people in the cap, other people, you know, that are still watching, other people in the cap, what? I don't know. Other people that are still watching the battle are counselling against that. They're saying, no, there's two of you, it's Tiger 2, and if you play smart, you know, well, no, they're not specifically saying that, but, you know, if you play smart in this situation, actually, there's really not that much to worry about, because you've got two overlapping fields of fire from different directions now that he's relocated. So the Tiger 2 basically can't deal with both of them at the same time, and if they're both open fire at the same time, then yeah. Now Dom was spotted moving forward to this position, and he's going to peek again. The ST moves forward, spots the Tiger 2, and Dom puts in a shot, and the ST just needs to fire once, or else Dom can, you know, reload for 20 odd seconds, as long as the ST at least keeps him spotted. And maybe the ST isn't the best player, but like I said, crucially, he's still alive, and even not the best player can have their moment. So I think, although the team was really criticising this ST, and although the ST really hasn't done much damage, if the ST hadn't been alive, this probably wouldn't have been a win, because Dom would have had a much more difficult situation to deal with. Not that it wasn't fairly difficult already, but it would have been even more so. So let's take a quick look at the scores. This was Dom's Ace Tanker medal. He had a High Caliber, Confederate and Tank Sniper medals, and High Caliber, well, that was definitely deserved. 7,298 damage with 5 kills. That gave him 1400 base XP, which was almost double the next best. Well, I say almost double. The next best was nearly 900 XP with a 5120, who did, you know, 3,500 damage. That's still fairly respectable. Third place was actually that ST, and we can see he only did 999 damage. 2 kills. Okay, the 2 kills were fairly important, and being alive was also fairly important. So although he was not by any means the best player, he still led to that being a win. And apart from the 5120, basically nobody in that team did over 2,000 damage. In fact, was the next highest, a 5100 with a 1661 damage. So yeah, that's how he ended up having to do quite so much himself. That's how he ended up doing over 7,000 damage, because next to the 5120, nobody else was really doing significant amounts. We had a couple of people at the bottom of the team that really didn't do anything at all. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those matches where there were a bunch of people that did a bit, and then there were a few people that did a lot, and it was fairly close. And it came, there was that one moment where the T-44 came for him, and he held off shooting the T-44 and trusted that the ST would take the shot so he could save his shell for the Rheinmetall that he thought was going to pop over, and did. And it all could have gone so badly wrong at that moment, because if the ST had missed, or the ST hadn't fired at all, and he'd been forced to take the shot, and then the Rheinmetall had popped in and shot him, well, I doubt the ST could have carried it in the same way, to be quite frank. But as it was, it all just worked out, and yeah, that was a very well-deserved Ace Tanker game. It got pretty tense at moments. But despite the derpitude of the team, and we can say that the team was derpy in basically leaving an entire flank completely, almost completely unprotected. Why do teams think that's a good idea? Why do individuals look at a mini-map and go, oh, no, that's fine, we'll just leave an entire flank open, nothing could possibly go wrong there? Yeah, no, it really rarely works out that way. It really rarely does. rarely really. Yeah, I don't know why I chose to say those words together, but I did. Anyway. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to the WZ. I think it's got a fairly decent reputation. I think the tier 10 is regarded as being a bit more kind of mediocre, you know, nothing particularly special about it. But the WZ, it looks like a fairly tough, fairly mobile, fairly punchy tier 9 heavy. So yeah, no, I'm you know, working my way up that line with a purpose to getting to those higher tiers. But I'm even enjoying my time at the kind of middling tiers as well. The IS-2 is a fairly good tank. So, if you liked this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.